you say.
Yep. So the guys online, we're just about to start now. We're a minute or two late.
Yes, now we are.
Oh, so kia ora tātou. We're now live streaming, and it is the meeting of the Strategy and Policy Committee. We've already opened with a Karakia and a Mihi Whakatau at the Regional Regulation Hearings Committee, which was earlier today. So we'll just move straight through into the apologies. And I'll just welcome everyone, just to say great to have everyone at the table who's here. We've got a number of councillors online, which I'll go through on in the next step. And so going into apologies, we've got apologies received from councillors Easton, Korako, who are away on council business. And online we have councillors Scott, Cranwell, Burns and Diche. So great to see you there lined up on the big screen. Any conflicts of interest? No? We don't have any public forums, deputations or petitions today, or extraordinary business, and no notices of motion. So we can move straight through into the unconfirmed minutes. So this is item 7.1. So can I ask councillors if there are any edits or anything anyone needs to comment on the unconfirmed minutes? Not seeing anything. Okay, so can I have a mover for those minutes then, please? I've got Councillor Robinson and a seconder. Councillor Edge, thank you. So can all those in favour please say aye? Aye. Any against? Nobody? So that's carried, thank you. So then moving on into item 8.1. So this is the report items for decision. We've got item 8.1, which is the proposed terms of reference for appointment of youth members to the Strategy and Policy Committee. So I've got Lisa Goodman and Ricky Welsh, who are the General Manager of Governance and the Lead Communications and Engagement Advisor, to come to introduce this paper. So if you please come to the table, thank you. Kia ora. So if you'd like to introduce the report, that would be fabulous. Thank you.
Kia ora koutou. So this report in front of you today is seeking to progress Council's resolutions of the 26th of February earlier this year, and they were to enable this committee to appoint youth members with full ability to participate in this committee's meetings and workshops, but with no voting rights. And this committee was also directed to develop a terms of reference for those youth representatives and appoint them at an upcoming meeting. So this report is addressing the issue of the terms of reference. These are attached in they provided in attachment 8.1, and happy to answer any questions about those terms of reference or the process that the Youth ROPU has carried out with regard to seeking expressions of interest and putting forward nominations for appointment of 2 youth representatives to the committee. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. So I've got Councillor Mackay.
Through you, Chair, thank you. Thanks, staff, for bringing this to us. Just a question, and it relates to the duration. When we went out for expressions of interest or as part of the process, was the term identified? I'm just really a little bit personally a little bit uncomfortable about the term of 2 years. So I'm just wondering, was that identified initially in the expressions of interest or the process?
Yes, it was. So these terms of reference were presented in as a draft, of course, for the process that the Youth ROPU used. So everyone who put forward an expression of interest will have seen this document, including the duration. And it will certainly be very clear in terms of there's a short cover letter from the chair on top of this that will form the whole package of terms and conditions, and that will have the express date that you agree to today, the express timeframe, I should say.
So given they were draft and not agreed at a S&P meeting, I presume, because I don't recall agreeing to the term frame, we can actually, and it might be addressed perhaps more to the chair than staff at this stage, we could look at making an amendment to that timeframe, if that was so.
Yep, that's doable if there were a majority that wanted to do that change. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So, Councillor Mackay? Mackenzie, sorry, I'm looking at Mackenzie and talking.
They can't.
Dr. Mackay.
They clearly can't tell us apart, Claire. I'm sorry about that.
I definitely can. Don't worry,
I've
Claire.
got two questions, and I'll put them separately because they're not related to each other. But in the terms of reference, you talk about definition of a youth as those under 24. So youth member will need to be 24 or under. That's a contradiction. Which is it? Are they under 24 or are they under 25?
It's the general definition of youth includes 24, so it's under 25.
Yeah, so you need to change those terms of reference.
Yep.
My second question really is, and it goes back to my objection to youth being appointed to this council in the first place, is that the youth ROPU, in my opinion, has been carefully selected to reduce diversity of opinion, but effectively operate almost like the Junior Green Party, and yet under 14, page 22, part of, in the references, you talk about a diverse youth perspective. So are you suggesting that the diversity of perspective is because they're youth, or are you looking for youths with a diversity of perspective which disagree which may have a variety of opinions coming from the two representatives you're going to put onto this council, onto this committee?
One of the things that we looked for when recruiting the young people was their ability to represent diverse views, including views that are not their own. So that's the ability to understand all views of young people as much as possible.
Are you, Councillor Mackenzie, you look like you're thinking and about to ask another question, or is that, are you finished now?
Well, I could make a comment about that answer, but that might be inappropriate.
That's fine. You can do that in the debate part if there's not a question to follow up on. Thank you. Any more? Oh,
Just happy to move, Chair.
Okay.
Happy to move the resolutions. Yep.
Yep. Okay. So in that case, if there are no more questions, if staff would like to step back from the table, that would be fabulous. Thank you. And so we have the recommendations up there on the board, on the screen. So I've got Chair Pauling moving, Councillor Robinson seconding. In terms of that under 25 rather than under 24, that can just be a minor edit, I think, that we can just make anyway. I don't think we need to put that into a resolution. So then we'll bring it to debate. And I think, Claire, to your point, I think we see if this passes as it stands, and then we can, you want to move an amendment? Okay. I'm trying to remember how this works now. So you put an amendment and then we see if that passes or not, isn't it? That's that way around. I always forget which way around it goes. Yeah. Okay. So should we adjourn? We'll adjourn for a moment and Claire can bring her amendment and then we'll... No. Right. Kia ora koutou. We're back on stream, and we have an amendment proposed from Councillor Mackay, and that's looking to change the duration of the appointment down to 1 year, or until the Strategy and Policy Committee is discharged, whichever is shorter. So you can see that up on the screen. So I'll open up for debate. So I need a seconder first, don't I? So Councillor Mackay's moving, Councillor Ward is seconding. So Councillor Mackay, would you like to speak to your amendment?
Yeah, thanks very much. Look, Council has voted to bring youth on to this committee. I had my personal opinion on that, but we have a position, so that's accepted. I guess I feel quite uncomfortable about having a 2-year term, but more so that this council, so late in its triennium, is actually committing the new council that's going to come in 4 months' time to a longer term position of having youth on this council. I find that that we're actually making a decision so late a little bit uncomfortable, and I know that some other motions that have come or other recommendations that have come to the table currently, there have been other councillors making similar sort of statements at the table about the should we be properly making these decisions and committing the next council table to them. So I would like to see this be a maximum of 1 year duration or the shorter. And I think there are some other benefits too, that it does give the opportunity to actually go back and offer a position to a following councillor at the same time. So, sorry, not a following councillor, but a following youth to refresh that and perhaps rolling and provide some opportunity for other youth to actually get some experience sitting at a governance table, which was one of the reasons that was put forward for putting youth on here, as well as having views presented at the table. So, yeah, I would propose this amendment as I've put up here on the table, staff have put up here on the board at the moment.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Ward, do you want to speak to this now?
Yep. I agree with a lot of the things that Councillor Mackay has said. I mean, yeah, personally, I had a few little reservations about this, but I think that other boards and committees I've sat on, I think that's good to have an annual turnover to give younger people some experience around a council table or a board table. Give some people from diverse backgrounds to have an experience here. So that's why I too are in favour of a 1 year term.
Thank you. Councillor Swiggs.
I was just going to speak in support of this amendment. The main points that I wanted to raise was the maximising diverse perspectives as a 1 year rolling appointment. I think we can reach through an entire term, we can reach a broader group of young people on this particular committee by rotating it annually. For me, the most important part is it creates opportunities for training of these young people. For me, it's not just about the youth perspective bringing a input, but it's also for them to learn about how council works, to learn how a governance organisation works. And those two young people in a year-long rotation will increase that. That will, for me, increase the engagement and motivation of the young people as well, and increase the excitement for other people who may want to come in and have that opportunity as well. Because when we had the decision to vote for this, I was really keen on having this aligned as a youth program or a youth development program within our youth ROPU, because I believe that there is an opportunity there for the youth ROPU to establish a program where we have a yearly intake of young people who go through the process of applying for the role, going through the engagement, coming to this table for a year, and then in that process there's another group that's coming into the applying, And then those people who have been here for a year have learned a whole lot that can then pass their experience on to other people who may want that opportunity. I know that there will be concern about our loss of experience, and I understand that concern. But I think the committee will benefit from the ongoing different exchanges of knowledge around the table and diverse groups of thinking and the workload. Young people have a lot of other things going on in their life, so if they know they've got that 1 year commitment, I think it'll be much easier for them to work. So I think a 1 year is a lot more sensible for a lot of reasons.
Thank you. I've got Councillor Burns online.
Kia ora, thanks, Chair. I'll speak against this. A greater confidence over that second year period, and I fully support it. I also can't quite understand the logic behind suggesting that because we don't have a great deal of time left in this trimester, that we shouldn't be burdening the next set of councillors that come in. That logic sort of suggests that we may as well throw our hands up now and do nothing until after the election. So for that reason, I certainly won't be supporting 1 year. Thank you. Kia ora.
Thank you. And then Councillor Robinson.
No, thanks, Chair. I too will be speaking against this. Well, unlike other items that have been brought to us for consideration at Council of late, this is quite frankly utterly different. Voting on different policies close to the end of the triennium is very different to actually considering something that is very effective, I believe. For one, we're asking basically people from age 24 and below to consider many things within a 12-year period, including grasping the actual position they hold, working with technical staff, liaison with councillors, understanding processes, identifying opportunities, professional development, and seeking support and trying to understand their role. And quite frankly, 12 months is just not enough. And two, also, does 12 months also take into account recess, breaks? How many meetings actually are effectively happening in that 12-month period? I just think it's unjust and unfair and too late in the day to reconsider this type of adjustment to something that works.
Thank you. So then I've got Councillor Scott online.
Thank you, Chair. Look, I'm going to vote against this. I've been consistent in my support for youth ropu and members, and I must say that Councillor Robinson and Councillor Burns have put my thoughts on the table. First-term councillors take a year to get their feet under the table. There's not many opportunities for them to come into the room, and I think we'd be better served if we want youth representation to have those people with some skills for a longer period. And I think 2 years is a reasonable time next. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Cranwell.
Kia ora tātou. I just reiterate the previous two speakers. And so I will be voting against this. 1 year is not long enough to get your feet under the desk, so to speak, and understand council processes and come up to speed, especially with strategy. You need at least 2 years, so I'll be voting against. Kia ora.
Thank you. Chair Pauling, did you want to speak?
Yeah, kia ora. I note that the terms of reference already talks about it being for the term of this committee, so I think that the second part of the amendment's not necessary. I don't support the 1 year. I just don't think it's long enough. In terms of being late in the term, this is the third or fourth time, I think, that this council has supported youth representation on various committees. So it's not really late in the term. It's just a continuation of that process that we've had a majority to support. So I think, we should push forward with this. We should get it done. And 2 years does give a good time for people to be involved. It gives them continuity. And I think we had a number of applicants for these positions through the youth ropu, and they all were keen for up for 2 years. So I think we should back that.
Thank you. Councillor Edge.
Yes, I'm against the motion as well, largely for the reasons of the last few speakers. But it seems to me that having the person or the pair of people in that role for a couple of years means that they can convey their experiences to the other members of the youth ropu. And it's an education process, an awareness process, and I think it's really good. And also the fact that we don't have a lot of committee meetings in the next couple of years. And yeah, a learning experience, and it's really good. And I agree with Councillor Scott that was all first mooted in about 2023, maybe even before, and we've been consistently supporting youth since that time.
Thank you. And yeah, for my part, I support the 2 years, not the 1 year proposed here in the amendment. My thinking is particularly we're in a really broken year, this one coming up. We've got the council elections, then we've got, go for like the Christmas break. I'm wanting youth voices on this committee to actually help us with our thinking and understand young people's perspectives. I think the opportunity for them is sort of secondary to me in many ways. So really I'm wanting them to be able to really support and understand the council and bring those young voices and thoughts to our table. We have I think I worked out we have about 900 plus years of wisdom around our table, and that's because we have quite a high level of older people representative around the table, and that's fine, but actually let's get a couple of younger voices too and give them the best opportunity to actually support our decision making, given that we have the voting rights. And so anyway, that's my take. So I'll put this to the Councillor Mihi, did you want to vote? No? Okay. So I'll put it to the vote in that case. So all those who are in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
And all those against, please say... all those against, no?
Against.
Okay. So I think we'll do division. I think it's not passed. I'm pretty sure. Show of hands. Okay, show of hands. So those who are in favour of this amendment, hands. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And any online? No. So that looks like that's failed. So then we'll go back to the original recommendation. And so I've got Chair Pauling and Councillor Robinson who've moved and seconded this. So do we need to speak to this, or should we just take... you want to speak to this?
To recap, like I said, I think it's a continuation of this council's support for this over many years. I think it started with the Climate Action Committee that we had last term. We had it on the climate... Well, there was another committee that we had. I can't remember the full name of that one. The climate response one that we had, and that was really good. I think I would have really loved to have seen them being voting members, but that wasn't the decision that we made. And I think at the debate we've just had around the years and stuff, I think it all makes sense. So, yeah, really keen to support this. Happy to have them here, and great that we've got a couple of people that have been through the process, and they're really keen and want to be part of it. So happy to support it.
That's great. Thank you. Councillor Robinson, do you want to speak to this?
Oh, just very lightly. I've really missed their voices at the table, to be honest. So the sooner the better to have them back. So no, thanks for the support in this and bringing it forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else want to speak? Councillor Mackenzie.
I'm going to vote against the recommendation on the basis that I'm not sure that the process by which the youth members have been selected actually does recognise the diversity of youth opinion. I don't buy into the argument that we need necessarily youths around this committee to represent youth voices. And when I look at my interaction with youth from my constituency, I think I probably represent a more diverse opinion from people under the age of 25 than the rather selective process by which the youth rupu have been selected. And so I have no confidence in this.
That's fine, no problem. Okay, so I'm going to I don't think I've got anyone else wants to speak to this at this point. No. So we'll just put this up for voting. So all those who are in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those against?
No.
Okay, so do you want those recorded? Yep. Okay, so I can have, so we've got Councillor Mackay, Councillor Swiggs, abstaining, yep.
Councillor Ward, you're abstaining, Councillor Swiggs abstaining, and Councillor Ward.
Yep.
And Councillor Mackenzie was voting against.
Okay, so we've got, so is that everybody? Everyone captured who wants recording? Yep. Okay, so that's passed. Thank you. So we're going to go into, and I forgot to say we were going to reorder the agenda. So we're going to PX now. So
I'll move that we go to P.
I need to get that up on the and seconding. So Councillor Chair Pauling and Councillor Swiggs. So that's move and second going into public excluded. So this is moving that Ricky Welsh be permitted to remain and all the public have been excluded. And so we're, yep, so we'll put that motion. So all those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so right, so we're in PX. back into the open meeting now, but we're going to adjourn and we're going to welcome our 2 new youth members to our table. So we'll be back shortly. Kia ora. And then the two young people, Liam and Jolie, are now at the table, and they'll introduce themselves, but Craig will do a little welcome to the table initially as well. So are we on? Yes. So we're now on. Kia ora, we've brought Jolie and Liam to our table, and Chair Pauling would like to welcome them. Thank you.
Oh, kia ora tātou. Nei rā te mihi kia koutou tēnei ata mō tō tātou hui o tātou. Te tuatahi kia kōrua, Jolie, Liam, nau mai hara mai kei wainganui i a mātou i tēnei kaunihere, tēnei kōmiti. Nau mai hara mai. Nau mai hara mai ki te kōrero e pāna nā take o Waitaha, i tēnei kaupapa, i tēnei hui, i tēnei kōmiti. Nei rā te mihi, tēnā kōrua, tēnā kōrua, tēnā kōrua. Kia koe, Jolie, te uri o nai Māori, tēnei te mihi kia koe. Liam, hoki, te uri o Ngāpuhi, Ngāti Ruanui, tēnei te mihi, tēnei te mihi, tēnei te mihi, kia ora, tēnā kōrua. So just wanted to stand and welcome you both here. It's been a journey, that's fair to say. We've had youth representation on a few of our committees over the last 3 or 4 years, and really proud to be here to welcome you both amongst us. Looking forward to your contributions that we have left in this term, and then as this committee carries on into the future, looking forward to that over the 2 years that we've been able to get you for. So just really looking forward to what you'll be able to bring. And yeah, welcome. And hand over to you both if you want to say anything. So kia ora.
Thank you. So welcome, and really lovely to have you here now. And so Jolie, perhaps would you like to say a few words, introduce yourself to us? Thank you.
Kia ora everybody. My name's Jolie. I grew up in Ōtautahi, was born here. With my mum, I'm a city girl, and then with my dad, we've lived in West Mountain and Hororata, so have both sides of, I guess, those perspectives of my life, which is pretty cool. My 3 big passions in life are youth advocacy, te taiao, and te ao Māori. So I'm super excited to be in this space and be able to support all of those things, as well as other youth and their perspective on those as well, because they're all different. Kia ora.
Thank you. And Liam, like to introduce yourself. Thank you.
Kia ora everybody. Ko Ngāpuhi Ngāti Ruanui tuku iwi, ko te mahurihuri tuku hapu, ko Waima tuku awa, no Ōtautahi hau, ko Liam tuku ingoa. It's really awesome to meet you all. I'm really excited about the opportunity to be sitting here at the table with you all and representing youth voices at this table. And I like to think that I bring quite a diverse range of youth voices, those being from like an urban perspective, from climate change perspectives, rural perspectives even, as you would have seen in my biography, but also having some prior experience in governance spaces on Te Whatu Ora Youth Advisory Council. So I'm really excited for the opportunity to be with here all, and the learnings that this will provide for me, and the learnings that you will be able to take from myself and Jolie with the experiences that we have. Kia ora.
Kia ora, thank you so much. And we're looking forward to working with you in the next few meetings that we have up until council elections, and then we'll see what after that. So Chair Pauling, you'd like to?
Yeah, just wanted to also just acknowledge all the work that has gone into this by the youth rōpū themselves, but also the staff that have supported the youth rōpū to allow Jolie and Liam to be here. So just acknowledging all of that work, and thanks councillors for their support for having Jolie and Liam amongst us, and really looking forward to it again. So kia ora.
Yeah, great, thank you. Okay, well, we'll crack straight into the next agenda item then. So into item 9.1. So this is report items for information. This is the update on the revitalisation of the Canterbury Biodiversity Strategy. So we've got Alex Morgan online. So welcome, Alex. Wow, that's an impressive venue. So Great to see you there, and if you would like to introduce the paper, and then we'll take questions. Thank you.
Sure thing. Kia ora, committee. I'm here to talk to you about where we're at and where we're heading with the revitalisation of the Canterbury Biodiversity Strategy. I think I'll take the bulk of this report as read, primarily because the front and back end of it are a bit of a repeat as we continue to provide updates on this process. So you should be hopefully familiar by now about why we're here and the work that we're doing. I'll focus on some milestones and some next steps. So first of all, we had, subsequent to our last update to this committee, a meeting of our collaborative group back in March, mid-March. We came together with that huge group of diverse stakeholders and met at Environment Canterbury's offices, and we ran through a facilitated workshop with that group, looking at the strategy itself, looking at the vision that the strategy contains, sense checking the existing vision, trying to see if we can refine that vision into the future, seeing if we can see what our vision for biodiversity future might be across different timescales, all with the aim of supporting our sort of project team to take that broad community perspective and provide this committee or council in the future with a revitalised biodiversity strategy with a bit more contemporary information. It was a really, I think, successful workshop. We noted some really broad attendance across a whole host. Interrupt me.
Sorry, you cut out for a moment and then you've come back in, so it's all good. Carry on.
Apologies. The curse of doing this online, I'm afraid. Apologies. The collaborative group attended by all manner of different stakeholders. So we had industry groups, we had representatives that provided the perspective of the emerging catchment groups. We had the majority of the signatories from the existing Canterbury Biodiversity Strategy represented in some form or another. Central government. The invite was broad, and
Hang on, Alex, you've gone on to mute now. Or at least the sound's not coming through. Still not hearing you. No, not now either. Do you want to maybe go out and come back in? That might be... Oh, okay. Hang on. There you are. Got it.
Oh, hello, I'm back.
Yep.
Apologies. Normally this works quite well typically, so apologies. I think I was just about to say that our next step following on from that first workshop is we've got the second of our collaborative workshops planned for next week, Thursday the 22nd. And then that leads me into a sort of point of change from what this committee may have heard before. So taking on board the pretty significant impost on people's time, effort, availability, and I guess especially since they represent voices from across the region, the time it takes them and the expense that it can take them to come to Otatahi and have these meetings. We've condensed the 4 workshop schedule into 3, but put 2 of the half-day workshops into 1. So our May workshop is slightly different timing to what this committee may have seen before, but it captures a workshop they were going to have earlier and subsequently. So trying to make the best use of people's time and trying to respond and develop this process in a bit of an agile way that allows us to continue working with that group in the way that suits them. We'll be, like I say, we'll be meeting with that group on the 22nd, and hopefully continuing to provide some updates to this committee following that. The last point I'll raise is just about the mana whenua work stream that's attached to this. So we've established a sort of subsidiary group called that we're calling the Mana Whenua Advisory Group, that represented and invites out to each of the 10 Papatipu Runanga and to Toronto, to Runanga and Otahu, to sit on that group and allow staff and the project team to continue to provide updates on this work and sense check the work that we're developing. And then we're working with that group to sort of see how the interface with that perspective, the Mana Whenua perspectives, will align with our strategy development process. And I hope to be in a position next time I talk to you to sort of properly formalise how that's going. But we're really being led by the Runanga in that regard at the moment. So all positive signs. Our sort of broad timeframes are still on track, and I will sort of stop there and throw it open to any questions if there are any.
That's great. Thanks, Alex. So I'm looking around the room. I haven't seen anyone indicate. Councillor Mackenzie.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Alex, just in terms of your engagement with catchment groups, on page 32, 22C3, you say, quite rightly, and I'm not disputing anything you've written there, that you can't engage with everybody in terms of catchment groups, but you are the people you are engaging with the catchment groups, people like Ange Kushney and Ben Ansell, who represent the sort of collective of catchment groups? Or are the individuals that you are working with, are they from smaller catchment, specific catchment? Correct.
The answer is both. We've got some representatives from the Landcare Trust, from the catchment collectives out on Banks Peninsula, and from the I believe this council has had a presentation before about the name's going to escape me, but it's a process being managed by Eos Ecology.
So Y Connection
catchment, yeah, that's the one. Yeah, thank you very much. So there is I think collectively they represent 30, 40 plus catchment groups across the region, and then just by virtue of the broad net that we cast with our invites, some of the individuals that are in the mix actually wear several hats and do represent those catchment collectives as members of those catchment committees themselves.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? I think I had a question similar lines to Councillor Mackenzie, but was wondering if we have some of those, the urban sort of overarching umbrella groups like the Pawaho Heathcote River Network and the Avon Takaro Network and so on. Do we have those groups represented?
I can't recall about, because it was, like I said, it was a large invite list. I don't believe they attended the first workshop. I think at least one of those may have been invited. I'd have to double check to be certain. But we absolutely have those broad urban sort of and city fringe and peninsula adjacent sort of catchment groups, the Rod Donald Trust, etc. I think the confident answer I could give you is that that type of community group is very strongly represented in the cross-section of people that are participating in this collaborative process.
Okay. That might be more for debate. I'll add it into the debate, my sort of thought on there. But okay, so you can step back from the virtual table, Alex. Thank you. And so we'll put up the motion recommendation and okay, so we've got the recommendation there up on the screen. Now, one thing I don't know which point to put this in, but we've got the workshop next week, and Councillor Korako is not going to be attending. Was nominated to be one of the two representatives, along with Councillor Robinson, for the workshops, but has indicated he's stepping back from that. And so Councillor Edge has put his hand up to do that. Instead, there's a meeting next week, and I know many of us are away on a councillor field trip next week, so I did check around the table with those I could catch briefly just before this meeting, and I think that generally speaking, we're happy to thank you for offering to attend, Councillor Edge, but yeah, there isn't really time to do a whole formal thing around that, and there's only really 2 meetings, I think, before the whole thing comes back to our council table for adoption. So I've said that. I don't know if there's a formal process needs to happen, even though I was suggesting we maybe keep it informal. I'll let people speak to that maybe if you want to bring something up. Yeah.
I think Councillor Edge and Councillor Korako have been talking to each other, and I encouraged Councillor Edge to send that around to all councillors, which has happened, to get any feedback, and I don't think any major feedback's been received, and other than a formal process, I think it's just good to note that Councillor Edge is willing to step into that spot and carry on with that. There's not far to go. There's the meeting next week, which he is able to attend, which I think is really good. And then there's one more workshop, and then it'll come back to us as councillors. But it is good to have a couple of people there. So if everyone's happy, we could note that as a secretarial note, just so that can happen.
Okay. So I think that's okay. Thank you. Okay, so I need a mover for this recommendation. Councillor Mackay and Councillor Robinson seconding. So thank you. Councillor Mackay, would you like to speak to it? No? Councillor Robinson? No? Okay. Chair Pauling?
Yeah, just wanted to acknowledge the work that's going on. I did attend the first workshop that was held in March, a while back, and it was really good to be there to see the cross section of groups, like Alex has been saying, that obviously could make it. Obviously, there was a wider group that was invited. Really good to see the mana whenua work and the runanga work going on as well. And I do note the technical work in 23 and 24 on page 32 there, that sort of updated science work that will help inform the revitalised strategy. So just really happy to see all of that happening and looking forward, wishing next week well, and of course the process to continue after that, and looking forward to it coming back to us in the next few months to move on with that work that we've all been wanting for a while. So happy to support this. Kia ora.
Thank you. It's great to see this, and I know it's sort of been consolidated and coming back to us with the intention to bring it to us before the end of this council term, which I really appreciate, and that's great. Thank you. Just in terms of the makeup of the groups, I do sometimes think it would be helpful for councillors to have some oversight of who is on invite lists to these things. Certainly, Banks Peninsula and Port Hills and so on are really important to Christchurch, but that does not represent the whole of Christchurch, and I think that urban river groups and so on are actually really important to make sure that they are connected. So I sort of hope that they are, and noting, of course, Councillor Mackenzie's comments as well on the catchment groups out in rural. So sometimes councillors do have networks that we can give some bit of support and guidance on some of those groups without insisting every man and his dog turns up. Just that's some of my thoughts on there. Thank you. Councillor Mackenzie, you want to speak?
I just want to support your comments. I mean, I think just listening to the answers to my question, there are one or two people there who've got commercial imperatives written, which are not necessarily the feedback we want. We want feedback from those people who are actually doing the real work. And there are collectives, especially in the catchment group space. There are collectives that represent multiple catchment groups, which should definitely be sitting there to give advice. And also, and I imagine they are there, the TA biodiversity people.
Yeah, thank you. And Councillor Burns.
Thanks, Chair. Just really briefly, I just want to thank Councillor Edge for stepping up. I know that he's very committed to seeing this revitalised, so thank you. Kia ora.
Great, thank you. So I think that's everyone. Claire, you declined to speak, so on this one, you've moved it and you're all good. That's great. So I think that's everyone's had this one, so that's carried. Thank you. Okay. Okay, so now we're moving into item 9.2. So this is the central government update and submission report back. So we'll have Cecilia to the table. Thank you. Okay, so Cecilia is Principal Strategy Advisor, and she'll introduce the report. Thanks, Cecilia.
Yes, kia ora koutou, councillors. So you'll be familiar with this. This is the regular standing update provided on the upcoming and current central government consultations. But I will make a couple of quick points today, just because the attached table does look a bit different this month, as we've incorporated a prioritisation approach using the existing guiding principles that inform decisions on making council submissions. So, given the continued pace of government legislative and policy proposals of relevance to council and the significant number and complexity of consultations anticipated, we do recommend taking a more proactive approach that considers how council and staff best add value and apply our resources. So we use the existing guiding principles to inform decisions on whether to make submissions, and applied a three-tiered prioritisation approach to identify which proposals we'll likely submit on. So the attached table provides information on that prioritised framework we've used and lists the consultation we anticipate with a priority assigned. But I would point out that the scope of proposals and length of consultation timeframes and when things are announced are dependent on government and cabinet decisions. So this is based on the best information available at the time of writing this report and subject to change. And I would note that sometimes other government proposals pop up a bit unanticipated, so this prioritisation approach will also help us assess those as they come in. And I'll just make a couple of updates since the paper was written a week or two ago. So there's been two proposals announced by the Department of Conservation. These around action plans, implementation plans for the New Zealand's biodiversity strategy, and also the predator-free strategy 2050, but for the next 5 years to 2030. And staff are currently assessing those and will provide advice to the chair polling shortly. I've also had next steps on the Regulatory Standards Bill announced, and Cabinet will consider approval of the bill approval of the bill for introduction next week at Cabinet. And there's an urgent Waitangi Tribunal inquiry on the bill being held today. And the Emergency Management Council submission has also been finalised and will be reported back at the next Strategy and Policy meeting on June the 4th. And we've just got the one submission to report back to the committee this month on the performance standards for wastewater. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, so Councillor Swiggs, a question.
Kia ora, and thank you for the work that you're doing on this and all the teams. It's quite a lot of work, and getting our heads around all of these changes that are coming. Maybe it might be better. I've got two questions. One of them might be better for next week if you're reporting back around the natural hazards risks. What I wanted to understand is the direction of natural hazards risk has been scaled back from the original proposals. It's what was in our report here. And what I really wanted to understand is what implications that has on our council's community preparedness in response to hazards core service. Given that we've just had 2 states of emergency recently in Canterbury and one emergency operations centre stood up in another part of the region, I just wanted to get a bit more of an understanding of what that meant. So happy for you to answer that now, or if you bring that back to us when we have that discussion next time. The other one was the 3-tiered prioritisation approach. I just wanted to tease out the specific criteria that we're going to be using to determine the categories and how they fall into each. And just to be transparent, providing how you've used it in any of the recent ones that we've had. So just so it's on the top of our minds.
Yeah, so to answer the first question around the natural hazards changes, so we're expecting Cabinet to make decisions on the national direction package of amendments in the next couple of weeks. So yeah, I suggest when we've got a bit more detail, given that's imminent, that we come back on that. In terms of the prioritisation approach, we have sort of considered recent examples of decisions made to submit and not to submit. I guess the medium priority one is very much where, could go either way. So often it depends on if others are submitting, that our views, we know our views are likely to be aligned, and also depending on kind of the proposal detail and whether there's direct implications for council's role, or sort of more direct implications on the ability to deliver on outcomes. Does that help?
So just to follow on, no, I know it is on. Just to follow on from that, do you think there might be maybe a political mechanism to play in that medium space to get guidance? Or I know that there might be a bit of a period where in the election time that it's not very easy, but I want to find a way that you have more confidence in that medium bit where it could either go, you just said it could either go either way. Do you think there's something that we can help with in that space, or in that medium category?
I think another consideration when it's sort of that medium category is what other consultations are happening at the time. So it might be where sort of trade-offs are made. So if one sort of went higher on priority, then I think we'll use that approach for those ones. Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor McKenzie.
Just a question really around that natural hazards risks submission. You're recommending a submission. Who will be doing the work behind that?
So we're expecting the natural direction to come as a package, and with different components to that. So we're just pulling the team together at the moment in terms of who will lead on the different aspects of.
Do you have a view as to who the team leader will be?
Not look to Jessie, but there'll likely be involvement from Jessie's team on that one. But we're pulling together the team for that at the moment. Yeah.
Okay. So.
Look, Madam Chair, if I could just say, the reason for my question, it's not pejorative or anything, it's just as the lead on hazards and whatever they call it, community preparedness, I just want to know whether, who to talk to, should I talk to anybody? Yeah.
There will be staff sort of overall holding the pen on things, so we're just working out the best, once the consultations land, the best approach to collect feedback from councillors and organise it that way.
Yeah, Jessie, do you want to speak to Jessie?
Yeah, look, I can. So yeah, look, it is a cross-organisational approach to these submissions. We never do anything in isolation, so it will be involving science, operations, others, as well as in supporting a submission on the natural hazards aspects of that national package. So, who holds the pen, depending on the broad breadth of those changes, that'll be something that we need to factor in as well. So, yep. So rest assured that we will be cross-organisational. So.
Okay. Yeah, we want to, given there's quite a number of amendments in the including make it as sort of coordinated as so that councillors can provide feedback. Yep.
Okay. Thank you. Which is what you always do for us. So thank you. And Councillor Robinson.
No, thanks for that. And through you, Chair, I'm just wondering if we are considering submitting on a proposal by Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries, MPI, proposals to amend the New Zealand Food Notice residue levels of agri-chemicals. That's currently open for submission. And so the reason I bring it forward is for soil and water quality. They're looking at increasing residue levels by tenfold acceptable limits. And because it includes glyphosate and the chemicals we readily use ourselves in weed, control. So the concern I have is that we've got 4 days or 3 days left to consult to supply information or our for or against Yeah, so I just guess is that being considered for submission from this council?
Those consultations haven't typically come across our radar before for consideration, but we'll take that away and have a look at it and get back to you.
Yeah. Councillor Ward?
This is my personal opinion, but I think that's outside of our scope, really.
Okay, I was having had a quick look because it only came across my radar yesterday, sort of late yesterday, and it would be good to understand the linkage between increased food residue concentrations and what that means in terms of presumably enabling more concentrated applications or something. Like, I'm just curious to know whether that then has an implication for the soils and residues left in the soils if you can have more residue on the plants. And I'm seeing you shaking heads, but I would like, because there's a natural, does it make sense logically that if you've got more residue on your plant, you have more in the soil, and that could then build up, because some of these things have quite long half-lives. So I'm interested more than anything because we do have an interest in soil health. We have a program that looks at soil health over a long period of time, and so I'm curious why this one didn't actually come across Environment Canterbury's radar, but perhaps it is because it's very specifically about the food and that there is no connection to the soil. But I find that difficult to understand as someone who's looked at things like contaminated land. Usually there's quite a connection between the plants and uptake and what's in the soil. So I'd be interested to know a little bit more about that. I don't think we'll have time to really look at it in any detail, but I think for me, it's more the process of how did that not even land on the list, rather than, given that I do think there is a connection here potentially, and it would be good to just check that off. So that it's questions though, and by all means, if you've got things to ask, to comment on that in debate, that's fine. But if you have a question for Cecilia, so my question is, should that in reflection have been at least on our list, even if it ended up as a green? That would be my question there, but I know you can't answer it here now, so it's one to take away. So if other people have got a question, that's fine. So
I'll wait to debate.
Councillor Edge?
Just a question on that topic. We have I think we have a policy, health in all policies. Is it something in your mind in terms of identifying whether it's high, medium, low? Is that something that's sort of like a checklist of things that you consider?
Certainly our sort of work with partners and others, key stakeholders is consideration and the guiding principles. So that's where things like the health and all policies would come into those considerations. Yeah.
Back to the question I was going to ask you. In terms of these policies, I mean, I think the idea of having those sort of high, medium, low gives some direction for you. Are some of these, in terms of feedback and submissions, are these all sort of end-of-line submissions that if you don't make a submission, you don't get a second chance? Are some of these second chance type things that you could change the category if there's the government makes a preliminary decision and we get alerted by that, we can raise the bar, so we could go from medium to high or low to those sort of things?
In terms of the consultations, they're all they're what we understand at this point in time. Until sort of see the full scope of proposals and the consultation timeframes. In terms of the actual consultations listed, they are a mixture of ones that you'd get another opportunity to feedback, and we do consider this in our assessment. So some of them will be select committee ones, which will be the last chance to have the opportunity. Others will be the government's agency's initial consultation on, discussion documents and proposals that will inform policy development and legislative development. So,
Thank you. And the question that I have, went to the Forest and Bird AGM yesterday evening in Christchurch, and there was some concern discussed about seeker herds, which I know is on North Island, and I can see that that's why we've deprioritised that one. But do we look at those things from a strategic point of view? Because we know, for example, Banks Peninsula, there's a real angst around deer gobbling up, restoring forests. So it seems, is there a risk here that we don't submit or have an opinion at this point on something? Understandably, it's in another geographical location, but could set a precedent that then comes back to bite us later on. If our biosecurity people have a particular viewpoint on that, would it not be useful to be putting that forward sooner than later?
For those ones, and I understand that there's been another one recently announced around Fiordland, is might be that take a watching brief on how these other applications are developing, and staff advice can sort of consider that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, is that all the questions? We've gone through questions? Yep. Okay, so you step back from the table. Thank you, Cecilia. Okay, so we'll bring up the recommendations for this paper. Okay, so can I have a mover, please? Chair Pauling, and a seconder? Councillor Edge. So, Chair Pauling, would you like to speak to this?
Yes, please. Thank you, Chair. Look, I just want to acknowledge that what we have in front of us is a massive list of, reform going on. I mean, we've got 1, 2, 3 pages here on that first list, and there's a lot of red highlighted submissions which we are making submissions on. So I just want everyone to be really mindful that it's a massive workload for the team that are doing this, and I think they've done a really good job of explaining the prioritisation process on page 52 about how they've done that. And I'll probably say we can't do it all, but the ones that have been prioritised are those ones that really do impact on our role and our statutory roles, not taking away that there are wider issues that people are concerned about, and that's all good, but massive workload, lots of change going on, and also just to draw your attention to the second resolution there about the submission to Taumata Arawai on the proposed wastewater environmental performance standards. I know we had a briefing on this, public briefing, so people saw that. But yeah, really good submission. I think that's raised a lot of really good thoughts for Taumata Arawai and to consider as their process goes forward, from a regional council that has a lot of experience in this space, working with our TAs and with Papatupu Runanga as well, and our communities on this. So really hoping that some of that feedback is listened to in the process, because there's a lot of concerns in there about levels and things. So, but yeah, thank you.
Great, thank you. Councillor Edge, do you want to speak to that now?
Yeah, just endorsing what Chair Pauling said. And when you look at page 67 and the whole list of legislative change that is coming through, we can't do it all. And having a priority system is kind of a wise thing to do. I mean, even just the page 68, 69, treaty-related reviews and things as well. I mean, it's huge, and it will affect us in going forward. But I think just being focused on a few key things is important.
Councillor Swiggs.
Yeah, kia ora. Thank you, Chair. Similar to what Chair Pauline said, there is an insurmountable amount of change being done to the regulatory systems of New Zealand, and it does make an impact on how our council works. And I do want to say thank you to the staff who are working to give us as much good advice quickly, so that we understand the changes that are coming, because the last speaker said that we can't do it all, but all of it impacts us. And all of it impacts the communities that we represent. And I think it's really up to us to understand these so that we can communicate this uncertainty to our communities, especially when they do change. There's some national policy statements that are going to be changing very soon. There's a lot of RMA reform, and we've talked in depth about that and what that may mean for this council. And my only plea is that when the government, if the government ever listens to these recordings, which I don't think they will, but if they ever did, that they actually start thinking about how we fund this work, because we're having to put time, resource into responding to this stuff for our communities, and that unfunded mandate is creeping up. And in what's this month? May. In June, DIA is going to be starting to release all of this financial information that's coming out for councils, debt levels, balanced budgets, all this stuff sort of thing. If we're all of the time getting this unfunded mandate to respond to all of this stuff and all of the changes that mean that there's unfunded work that we then have to pick up or that we lose, but we still have to fund it, it really unbalances the budgets for councils. So really, awesome work from our staff, but I just really wanted to say that because, this is really starting to get to a crunchy end.
Thank you. Councillor Mackay.
Yeah, through you, Chair. Look, I just really want to support the comments that Councillor Swiggs has made there at the end, particularly around the workload that staff have got. And I think that as a council table, we do need to actually be very cognizant of the time and the cost that's involved in providing these submissions, notwithstanding whether they get heard at the other end or not. Sometimes we're probably a bit guilty of not listening to some things that come in front of us. But so, look, I definitely support that, and I just would encourage our council table to actually be thinking very carefully about what we expect staff to submit on, and just thinking around the food safety issue that was raised before by a fellow councillor and spoken to yourself by chair of this committee, around the food safety stuff. I mean, it's a very narrow review that's actually been done, and that's the sort of thing I don't think that this council actually needs to be concerning itself over. We've got much more important stuff, and I think I agree with the prioritisation that staff have brought to us, so definitely support that recommendation.
Okay, we're now running into lunch, but go for it, Councillor Ward. Almost.
Sorry, I'd just like to say thank you to the staff for all the work they've put into this, and I'll just add to what Councillor Mackay has said, that I don't see the food's safety space being ours, really. I mean, a lot of that's covered off on farm stuff with QA programs and what farmers and producers can and can't use, so I just don't think that that's our space.
Thank you. Sorry, and apologies. In my head, I thought we were finishing at 12, and the next meeting started at 12:30. But I've got it. I'm ahead of myself now, so it's actually 12:30. So apologies. So I've got Councillor Cranwell online.
Kia ora tātou. Yeah, I mean, I agree with the motion there, endorse the proposed process in the paper, but also I'd like to acknowledge the submission on Taumata Arawai wastewater environmental performance standards as well there in number 2. It's a bit scary, the proposed performance standards, and I really acknowledge the staff on kind of iterating probably everything I have concerns about, and it's in that submission. So I really endorse the submission, and hopefully this current government listens and reads this. Thank you. Kia ora.
Thank you. And yeah, I was just going to comment on that Taumata Arawai as well, which I think really gives an example of the excellent work that we do when we have expertise in the building that puts in a submission. And I think it's really clear how much effort and goes into those. You can see that from the detail that's in that Taumata Arawai report or submission. And so I think, that the prioritisation enables us to really put our best foot forward on those submissions that we do make. But I am keen to just make sure that we do have at least across our radar we cover a very wide range of things in this organisation, and it's good to see on the radar. I can see an awful lot on the radar. It's really clear from the table that we have. There is an awful lot, and the prioritisation makes sense. So thank you. Okay, so I'll put the motion to the table. So all those who are in favour, please say aye. Aye. Any against? No. So that's passed. That's carried. Thank you. Okay, so now moving on to the final item for today, which is item 9.3, and this is the resolution status report. Lisa Goodman, would you like to come to the table to present this one?
Kia ora koutou. I'll just take the report as read and see if I can answer any questions.
So, any questions? You've got an amendment. Sorry. So, Taff, you wanted to add something and an update.
Thank you, Chair. Yep, I just got a quick verbal update. So it's one of the resolutions that's not in this paper. It's one that was marked as complete from the March meeting. So it's around the Braided River Revival 100-year strategy. So it was just to give a verbal update to councillors as to where that is at, because it was down to come to the council meeting on the 28th of May, and it just wanted to signal to councillors that that won't happen. So the reason for that is because there was a secretariat note at that at the March meeting when we said that it would be coming to the May meeting in its final draft form, that was to take it to Te Raupatua. And when we did that, there are some of the Runanga who would like to engage with it, but have not yet been able to engage with it. So in order to do that, we're just signalling now that that will delay out, and we're looking at probably the June or July meeting coming back to council. So I just wanted to make sure that councillors were aware of that when we were talking about previous resolutions. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, so any questions? No. Okay. So Councillor Wiggs, Councillor Davies. So all those in favour, please say aye. Sorry, Lisa, you'd like to step down from the table. Should have done that formality. So all those in favour, please say aye. Any against? No. So that's carried. Thank you. So just to share that the next meeting will be on the 4th of June. And we won't be closing now because we've got the Regional Delivery Committee coming this afternoon, so they'll close at the end of that one. So that's us done. Thank you very much. Kia ora.